Google is telling me I should use terms like extreme transgressive fiction, physical intimacy, deviant subcultures, or explicit scenarios when talking about this book. In fact, I probably shouldn't even say the title of this book for 30 to 60 seconds, or I may be buried at the bottom of YouTube, because the subject matter in this book is all of the things I mentioned. And I appreciate that Google is warning me of what to say and what not to say. I've only watched one other review about this book, and he's monetized. I'm not monetized, so I'm not worried about that. But he said he couldn't even use the title of the book and the title of the YouTube video. In case this doesn't get any views, if you do happen to see this, share it with a friend who you think might enjoy it. Post it on social media somewhere else, because I feel like no matter what I do, YouTube is going to find something that it doesn't like about this video. But I've seen films like a Serbian film. Okay, that's a film that is regarded as one of the most difficult films to watch. I've seen films like Cannibal Holocaust. I've seen films like Martyrs multiple times. If you've seen any of those movies and haven't read this book, you know what to expect, however, with a gay twist. And I don't mean gay as in happy, okay? So I feel like we should probably, for those of you, again, who do not know what the hell this thing is, and you just saw the the cover and the thumbnail, which hopefully I won't get in trouble for, because it is the book cover. Maybe I can find a safer one. Want to know what this book's about? Well, it's about a mythical individual. He is a male escort for other gay men named Brad. And this book chronicles his journey. His fictitious or real journey, we never really quite know. And that's the genius of this book. That's what makes it most compelling. And I'll get more into that as we get into the review, but that's the short of it. This book is told in a series of forum posts, internet posts. There's even faxes. I can't remember when this book was published. I'll probably put a date up here just so you guys know. Faxes, emails, and then comes full circle back to web forum posts that are reviewing this enigmatic character named Brad, who is a young man. He may or may not be 18. He may or may not have blue eyes. He may or may not have blonde hair. He may or may not have pubes. Yeah, it gets into that. It's kind of a laundry list of terms that I guess people are looking for when trying to figure out if they want to hire this guy for his services. And because I guess there's no photos. Granted, there are photos that are posted in these posts in the book, but you don't see them. It's just a link. I checked the links. They don't work, but I think that's part of the charm of this book and lends to the authenticity as well. But it's about this individual's descent into, man, I don't even know what to call it. Descent into horror. But is it real? Is it not real? As I mentioned earlier, that's kind of what the author is playing with. He's playing with our voyeuristic tendencies, the way we will go online to places like Reddit, other internet forums, and for whatever reason, we take a lot of the posts at face value. We don't know these people. We can't see their faces. We don't know their names. We don't know their credibility whatsoever, but we believe it. And that's the most intriguing thing about this book is it's a heavy commentary on that aspect, how we have these I don't want to call them relationships, but kind of a relationship with people online who we never hear, we never see, yet there's some kind of trust there in a strange way. And I've experienced it myself. That's one thing that this book has taught me is to look at my own behavior. Not that I'm looking for male escorts, I swear, but it's about finding answers. Like when I have a question about anything. Maybe I'm trying to repair my computer. I go on Reddit, or I see news, local news on Reddit, and I automatically believe it. Granted, there's ways to upvote and downvote, and there's moderation. But anyway, I'm going off track. I think it's been at least 60 seconds, so I can talk about this book. It's called The Sluts by Dennis Cooper. Hopefully that's enough preamble for YouTube to not completely shadow ban me. So now that you know the synopsis of this book, more or less, and what to expect, let's talk about characterization. And this book really reminded me how changing the format of a novel lends so much more authenticity. And it's a bit meta in that regard, is it not? Because we tend to believe people online at face value often. And the fact that Dennis Cooper is writing this novel in a series of web posts and ad listings and emails, it just feels more real. It feels like you are living through these people in a way. You were just like one of the other people who are reading these posts. Even though you're reading in a book, even though you know it's not online, even though you know it's fiction, it's very immersive in that regard. Now, sometimes it does not work for me whatsoever in novels. Like I think it's called Sleeping Giants. I read that book, and if I remember correctly, the entire thing is a series of transcripts, and that story was terrible. This story is not terrible. It's a very well-written story, and it's really strange for me to say that I really enjoyed this. It probably makes me a sick person because there's a lot of sick stuff that goes on, but the craftsmanship is undeniable. So if you're able to handle extreme, intimate acts, I'm trying to stay away from bad words, highly abusive behavior, murderous behavior, all while being described in exquisite detail at times, then this book is very much worth reading. It's worth your time because there is an actual story in all this. It's not just a bunch of random posts. There is an actual narrative structure here. There are character arcs. And before I leave characterization, I should probably bring that up, is that there's so many characters in this book. Yes, it centers around Brad and this other guy named Brian. And Brian, he's this guy who kind of makes a deal with Brad to help him out. He says he has money. He's going to also pimp him out on the side, essentially, but he'll have a place to stay. And speaking of that, Brad, in the first quarter of the novel, he's a very sympathetic character. I really felt bad for him. And again, that's kind of the beauty of the characterization here is you think you know Brad, and then you don't know Brad, and then you think you find out who Brad is again, and then you realize you had it all wrong from the beginning. Because at the very beginning, Brad, he's kind of this homeless kid who just goes around, he's doing escorting to make money. He doesn't really care. He seems like a very broken individual, and he's doing these terrible things to his body, or allowing people to do terrible things to his body just to get by. He's even rumored to have a brain tumor, so he has these seizures, so he has odd tics, and so there's even more sympathetic features to pile onto this individual. But he changes. He almost is like a fictional character within the reality of the story, but then you envision him later as a person who almost exists outside of everything that's going on within the fiction of this book. And so it's fantastic characterization. It's multi-layered. Even all of the weird side people in this book, they even have arcs. Some of them have arcs. But yeah, all around, great stuff. Difficult to read at times, but fantastic writing in the characterization department. But the plot, you ask, how can there be an actual plot here when it's a bunch of web posts, emails, faxes, etc., etc.? Well, that is, again, the great skill that Dennis Cooper has with transcribing this story, if you can call it that. Because all of the writing is in first person pretty much. It's all people commenting, leaving reviews, having kind of side discussions. There's even a webmaster who kind of comes in and moderates the situation from time to time to validate some of these statements. There's an implied story. You can visualize the story happening in the background because you're often given this stuff after the fact, right? It's somebody meets up with Brad and they give their experience and you hear what happened, but then somebody else comes in and gives you information that counters that, contradicts that. And I know I mentioned Cannibal Holocaust, which is a found footage film. I believe is it the first found footage film? I can't remember. Anyway, this has a very found footage vibe to it, almost a House of Leaves vibe to it by Mark Danielewski, in that you feel like a participant in the story because of the formatting. You're reading these web posts and these emails and these faxes. And it really, I don't know, I got lost in it. Even though I know I'm reading a book, right? I'm holding a Kindle or the print book, whatever it is. I definitely didn't read the print book because I read this over Thanksgiving and I didn't need my family to see the cover. But regardless, you get really lost in this book in the best way and the worst way, because like I said, it's very difficult to read at times. But we definitely get a journey of Brad, we get a journey of Brian, we get a journey of many other characters. So there is a passage of time, things develop, things happen to Brad, things happen to other individuals. So it does have the sense of an actual narrative. It doesn't feel like a collage of experiences or a collage of visuals or anything like that, or rumors. It genuinely feels like a story. And I think that's an amazing feat, because I think it would be so easy to kind of get lost in the format and not care so much about constructing an actual story, because you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to try to shock people here. They're not going to care about the narrative, or if there's an arc, or if there's conclusion, catalyst, a midpoint, etc., etc. But there is in the story. So this wasn't just something that Dennis Cooper vomited onto the page. There's a lot of artistic merit here, despite the subject matter that I feel like a lot of people aren't going to be able to get past. I mean, we're talking beyond any kind of sexual content I've ever read. Now, I don't read erotica, so this may be common in that genre. I don't know, but man, does it get grotesque. And there's even content where people are killed, or maybe not, you don't know. And again, and that's kind of the beauty of this thing. But it's engaging. I will say that there is a part toward the middle of the book where it was the posting of ads, and there was somebody responding to these ads. So it wasn't the website reviews, it wasn't the emails. That was the only part that really dragged a little bit for me. Everything else was just go, go, go the entire time. Granted, I did have to take breaks from this novel because reading it for too long in one sitting is not good for your mental health. So let's move on to the writing itself, or as I like to call it, the cinematography of the novel. It's very cinematic, very detailed, as I mentioned. You know the formatting, how it's a bunch of web posts that really lend to the authenticity of what's going on, the characterization. You feel like a participant in this novel. But besides that, one thing I haven't mentioned is there's a portion of the book that is told through emails. But what I loved about it is that it's a one-sided email. You do not see the back and forth. You see only one individual sending emails, and you don't see what the other person wrote, but it can be inferred from the responses. So I thought that was a really clever way to do it, because the rest of the book is often formatted in posts and responses back and forth, whereas this part, I could see he probably saw the power in only showing one side of a conversation. It makes it more mysterious, it makes it more interesting, it makes us have to look a little bit deeper, read between the lines, and it's just far more intriguing that way. But I guess that's all I have to say about the writing. It's fantastic, it's immersive, it's too immersive at times, honestly, which means I'm going to have to give Sluts by Dennis Cooper an 8.5 out of 10. An incredibly unique, immersive, disturbing, transgressive, explicit. What other safe words is it okay for me to use here? Hell of a dark journey centered around the life of one man that you really sympathize with at the beginning, and then you question who he is throughout the novel as more information is divulged. And it's a beautiful commentary on our anonymous personas and how much trust we put into these random faces online. Highly recommend it if you have the stomach for it. It's not for everybody, not by a long shot. And while this book will be in my mind for a very long time in the worst way and the best way, I have to thank you guys out there for putting it on my virtual shelf. But if you've read it, I would love to hear your comments down below. Is there anything that I didn't bring up that you think is worth mentioning that other people who haven't read the book or have read the book might find useful? But it was a hell of a journey, hell of a read, one that I will not soon forget. So thanks for watching, thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you in the next one.